What a lot of this genetic information tells us is that your standard everyday, the more common breeds of dogs like Labradors and Irish Setters, Pit Bulls, and any of those breeds are not exhibiting dominance. They virtually can't exhibit. They don't have the behavior in their repertoire and don't exhibit dominance behaviors. Understanding need to exert dominance in social structure over limited resources is only found in a few breeds of dogs. Many breeds of dogs, that behavior has been bred out of them completely. The best thing to do when your dog is in that sort of really aggressive or aroused or negative state of mind is usually a loud noise. You can grab the dog, but from behind. It doesn't something to break their attention. So we like water spray. We like a loud noise. Getting in their line of vision. What you don't want to do is to reach in and grab a collar or grab onto the animal because they perceive that as an attack. Hovering over him, interfering, alpha rolling them over on their back and so on is never a good idea. They're not expressing dominance towards the human, they're expressing dominance towards another dog most often. Any kind of an action taken by the human is going to be completely misinterpreted by the dog. It's going to be interpreted as an attack. Hey, I'm over here dealing with this other dog and some limited resource of some kind, and all of a sudden you attack me. And so that's never a good thing for the relationship between humans and dogs. The hovering over, the alpha rolling are not dominance signals. They're not part of dominance aggression. Wolves don't do them. Wild dogs do not do them. So again, it's the wrong individual expressing dominance, trying to control the situation, and then that wrong individual is doing it the wrong way. And so it's even more likely to be simply interpreted as an attack by a human, and that results in all sorts of other issues and problems and relationship issues and so on. So it's most definitely not a good idea. One of the reasons that I think that the concept of dominance in dogs and being the dominant over your dog and so on is very popular and very persistent is that we are primates. And in primate societies, the whole social position and the social hierarchy is very important. And so as humans, you know about the corporate hierarchy and the whole pass the buck down the line. That's all social structure. That's all dominance and submission. And so though we use those concepts in our own life, and therefore we try to extend them to our dogs when it's not appropriate. There is one group of breeds that have been described by the geneticists as what's called the ancient breeds. And those members, the breeds that are part of that group, basically are indistinguishable from wolves in their genetics. And so they tend to be very wolf-like. They tend to be more aggressive. They tend to be very, very powerful hunters. They tend to have a much stronger dominance hierarchy and therefore dominance issues. So when we see dominance issues, which are very rare as behavior issues in dogs, but when we do see dominance issues, either between two dogs or between a dog and an owner, it tends to be in one of those ancient breeds. Submission is, as I say, the flip side of the dominance, and so it's a package, and a breed or a dog has that and shows dominance and submissive behaviors, or it doesn't show dominance and submissive behavior. Submissive behavior goes right along with dominance behavior as a package, and dominance and submission are the mechanisms to decide what order the limited resources are divided.
Placing upon you is not a sign of dominance. If anything, your dog is trying to get your attention. He probably did this at some point and was rewarded by being pet. He could also be mimicking you petting him.
Probably 80% of the cases of aggression that I see in dogs has to do with anxiety. Anxiety is the major aggression problem in dogs, and the one that we have to work on the most to fix. We need to research it. We need to find solutions to it. People need to recognize it better. Anxiety is the driver, the cause of almost all aggression in dogs. There are populations of wolves that live in places with very limited food, and when they get food, it has to be shared out very carefully, and you see dominance. And there are other places where food is unlimited. It's not a limiting resource, and you don't need dominance because there's plenty of food for everybody. So it relates to our pet dogs only when there's a limited resource to fight over it. There has to be a decision about who gets access to the food first and who gets access to the food second. Understanding need to exert dominance in social structure over limited resources is only found in a few breeds of dogs. Many breeds of dogs, that behavior has been bred out of them completely. Dominance tends to be, social structure tends to be not very important to any of the terriers, which is where the pit bulls and a lot of the bully breeds are. Another group, another very clearly defined genetic group are the mastiffs, where some of those breeds are located. And again, it's very rare or virtually unknown to have dominance behavior issues with those groups. It's pretty much reserved to these ancient breeds and a couple of other breeds.
Dogs don't walk in front to be dominant. They do so because they walk faster than you or are just a lot more excited to get to wherever you're going. I let the dog lead as long as there's no pressure on the leash. Remember, they're very curious and excited to be out.
I think the biggest mistake that people do with their dog is to not realize that a dog needs a job. Dogs are working animals, and so they need stimulation, they need a job, they need tasks, they need exercise, but even as much as physical exercise, mental exercise.